Okay, we are here with Chris Justice, who is the CEO of the gaming division of Global Payments. And Chris is a Kentucky boy, and before we began this interview, we talked a lot about the regional differences in that part of the country. So if you hear us chuckling here or there, it'll be reminiscent of what we were talking about before we began this interview. So with that explanation, Chris, give us a little overview on what is happening at Global Payments.
Yeah, thanks. Well, we've had a remarkable year, and I think we're very much poised for a fantastic 2023. Certainly, our iGaming business continues to grow and expand across the country as we help to continue to provide millions and millions of registered players that use our VIP Preferred program access to high limits to transfer money into the online sports books, iGaming and iLotteries. Certainly the talk of the town as well, especially here at G2E, relates to cashless. And so that's a core area of expertise that we provide, and a solution that it's the only one in the industry that's based on the TITO system. So therefore there's end-to-end accountability and tracking for every dollar moving through the system. Easiest one to operate, easiest one to install, easiest one for the players to use. We're seeing significant results from the operators that have implemented, and what that's doing to drive increased loyalty, frequency, and gross gaming revenue for those customers. So we're really excited about that. And then I think the third big piece for us is we've really spent a bunch of time and effort on innovation, and all of our solutions that are purpose-built to work together deliver self-service capabilities that are unmatched in the industry, and that allows folks to effectively move money closer to the game, allows customers to service themselves in a way that drives more funds to the floor without having the same expense, if you will, associated with having to supply people to man those operations.
Excuse me. Talking about cashless again, it's been a somewhat slower adoption than some had anticipated a year or two ago. How do you see it rolling out?
That's a great question, because I really think when you look at the typical bell-shaped curve of kind of any product adoption or any kind of major initiative, I think we've really gone through as an industry through the last year and a half or so in that early adopter phase where it's being installed, it's getting burned in, more and more people are having the opportunity to take advantage of those solutions. And I really feel that we are on the verge of that kind of next fast follower phase, that upward momentum to the right. And that's primarily because I think the operators that are in and around some of the installations are seeing the migration of their named customers going elsewhere. They're seeing the impact of what cashless is doing to their own bottom lines. And as a result, those folks are gearing up a lot more conversations around wanting to do the installation. And that's really kind of cascading out to other folks, because I do think it's one of those areas that, like all of us in our consumer lives, right? Forget gaming for a minute. We do spend more money at places where we find more convenient, and we tend to go to those places more often than we go to places that are less convenient. And those kinds of things are going to drive increased participation, and that's going to create more adoption, and then ultimately that'll take off. I would also parallel this as well to TITO. TITO took about 5 years to really get fully indoctrinated into the industry, and we're let's call it in the first quarter of this particular game. So I think it's not far beyond. It's not far ahead when we'll start to see more mass adoption.
TITO was slow to reach that critical point, that tipping point, as it were.
Yep, and then took off.
Right.
Yep, absolutely. And I think the same thing's happening here.
One of the things that is different between your operation and those of, say, your competitors or many of your competitors is that you have behind you a huge corporation with lots of assets. How does that play out in the development of your products and services?
That's a great question. Because Global is a Fortune 500 company. We're in more than 100 countries, and we've rolled out these kinds of solutions around the world. Coupled with the fact that part of the companies that I've led over the years as well, we've led the migration from credit only to PIN debit. We've led the migration from magstripe cards to the chip cards that everybody has in their pockets these days. We've led online and mobile commerce initiatives around the world. So part of what that does is it brings a very rich set of skills and expertise to the table, so that as we look at implementing these solutions, it's not only just what does it take to make it work, but what does it take to make it work well and produce the results? Because at the end of the day, I can tell you, cashless or any of these other solutions, right? This isn't a checkbox exercise, right? Checking that box to say, yay, I have cashless, does nothing to drive the bottom line for the casino, but putting in a solution that delivers real value to the guest to get them to come back more and more often is the straw that stirs the drink.
Talking about guests, it kind of reminds me a little bit that the gaming industry over the past year or two has been affected by a number of external forces. The evolution of COVID. Today we have inflation. We have foreign currency exchange issues for some companies. We have fears of recession. But you are in a unique position, both to see the health of your casino companies and also to see the health of the player. How do you see that today?
Well, it's interesting because certainly I think the cost of gas is certainly decreasing the number of trips that people are attempting to make, or at least a lot of folks. Maybe the easiest way to say this: gas, groceries, and a variety of consumables are impacting the just to use a casino, right, the lower end of the casino's database, if you will. At least thus far, we've not really seen any major impact to kind of those folks that are moving the needle at the upper end. However, over time, I would see that those macroeconomic changes that are impacting the biggest portion of our economy will ultimately impact people at the top. But fortunately, at this point, we're not really seeing that kind of an impact.
Good. We're at G2E, where everybody wants to see the newest and best products. What should they make sure they see at your booth?
Well, I think part of what we're really showing is the integrated ecosystem for the entirety of the resort experience. So the ability to go from cashless at your favorite game, whether it's tables or slots, to how you can utilize that in retail, entertainment, hotel, et cetera, how those monies can move back and forth to the sports book or to the iGaming site, and really a focus on delivering an exceptional player value experience that will get those players coming back more and more, helping them spend more money, helping them drive frequency, which ultimately translates into higher GGR for the casino.
Okay, great. Very good presentation. Very good overview, Chris. Anything else you would like folks to know about Global Payments?
Hey, come see us at booth 4411. We'd love to meet you and spend a little time showing you just how good things can be.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thanks, Frank. Good to see you.